Okay. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Morning.
Morning. For those of you who don't know, the four guys who are up here are some of the pioneers on the SEBI program, the Business Development and Capacity Building program that's a JN Foundation initiative in collaboration with USAID. I'm actually going to start with Darcy.
Wow.
Hey, Darcy.
Hi.
Darcy, we've been spending the last day or so talking about social enterprises, but Mustard Seed's been established since 1978. So social enterprise really isn't new to Mustard Seed.
No, it's not. When we started in 1978, it was a vision really of our founder father, Gregory Rankison. And at the time, I think he had little and nothing in terms of money. He had about, I think, $700 that he borrowed from someone. And he had this dream, which has become the social mission, to provide for children with exceptionalities. And in doing so, he had a vision then also to recognize that he didn't want to go around with his hands outstretched, but to create some kind of wealth for the individuals who were involved. And so it was always a community effort. So what you had, he started in Mona Commons, and with the little ladies there who were helping him with the children who were physically and mentally challenged, he started a candle-making business. And from then, it grew and grew. We always knew that alongside the social mission, we also had to have some kind of enterprise going on. And it has always been that the funds created out of that was always put back into the social mission. And this is how we have gone on for years. Not very structured, you can imagine, because we didn't have the personnel to dedicate pointed time and interest to developing these businesses. So we had individuals who were in the, caring for the kids, casting an eye at the candle making business, getting the children involved, that sort of thing. So it really hadn't any structure as such.
But you started with candles.
Candles.
But now you're doing tilapia fish,
yes,
eggs, ceramics,
yes,
thinking about a bakery.
Yes.
I mean, the number of enterprises seem endless.
Yes, they are. And it, again, is a vision to look at food security for the organization, as well as the excess we, of course, sell to the communities in which we exist.
And what happens with the surplus or the profit that you make? What do you actually do with it? How do you reinvest it?
It's reinvested back into the business to take care of medical needs, to buy, if other things that we need to purchase, that's where the money goes. Yeah.
Okay, and how are these businesses doing?
Not badly, but with the CV coming on stream and giving us structure, we have now, a business plan was developed for us, which is marvelous. We have used that business plan to access funds. We've been able to do that with Digicel, and we are currently looking at expanding the businesses we have at one of our homes in Spanish Town, where we are looking at including an additional 1,000 bird coop for layers and 2 half-acre fish ponds. And we have gotten a business manager who is in the audience, who is helping us pull all this together. So he'll be focusing on the farming aspect, as well as the ceramics, as well as the cards, because we have all these initiatives that need bolstering.
There's a couple of things I want to ask you.
Sure.
First, you said you weren't very structured, that you didn't have a business plan, and you didn't have a business development manager.
No.
So how did you manage?
All of us lend our hands. Like I was responsible, for instance, for Jerusalem in terms of the...
And where is Jerusalem?
That is in Spanish Town.
Okay.
It's one of our homes there. We have about 165 children there and close to 100 workers. So I had the responsibility then to give oversight to the farm there, as well as take care of all the children who were there. And when I was moved from that position, I still had the responsibility for that. Now I don't, Mr. Silvero. Yes, but this is how we've always done it. I cast my mind back many years ago when we had, for instance, Monsignor had one of his assistants. He's a taskmaster, and pardon me, yes, he's a taskmaster, and he had this young woman who had no training, but he's good at formation. And I'm telling you, she was also managing the ceramics, doing the sales, the marketing, and everything else. So that was the culture at the time. Okay. Now we're changing it. Now we're becoming more organized.
Okay. And Julian, the source. Can you just share with the audience what the source is?
Well, the source is a community resource center, but in the hearts and the minds of the persons who actually use our services, it's far much more. We offer a wide range of services. We have a homework program. There's a learning readiness program where we teach parents how to identify the different stages of learning in their children, so that by the time the children get off to school for the first time, whether it be kindergarten or basic school, they would have been already on that road to learning. The homework program, right now our focus will be on the students who are preparing for GSAT. We have a GSAT boot camp every year, and so it's like 6 weeks of intensive review sessions for these students. Many of these students, they will not be able to afford extra lessons at the schools that they attend. All the source centers across the island serve challenged or marginalized communities. Our source center in Savannah and Lamar actually supports 4 target communities within our town. We have, right now, currently, we are also doing training because our focus is mainly on training and development, trying to empower the persons who live in these communities. Right now, we have a very exciting project that's going on. It's a stuffed toy and animal training. It's been going on for 3 weeks. Within 3 days, the ladies were able to complete products, and we actually have some of them on display for sale here at the marketplace.
And are there any other ways that you generate income?
We have a small internet cafe. We also have a small tuck shop. And those are basically the main ways. We also do events. We have an auditorium. It's a multi-purpose room that we use for various types of events, birthday parties, wedding receptions, that sort of thing.
And where does the bulk of your income come from?
Well, currently the bulk of the income comes from the event rentals and the internet cafe.
Okay. And Anne, MultiCare Foundation. Tell me a little bit about MultiCare and why you guys have decided to come up with a new idea, an enterprise.
At the MultiCare Foundation, we are youth-focused. We focus on young people, 6 to 18 years, mainly from inner city communities. We operate in East, West, Central Kingston, through the communities and through 32 schools, from Bull Bay right across to Greater Portmore. We work with programs in sports, the visual arts, and the performing arts. And what we try to do through structured activity is introduce them to creative endeavors, team sports, team activity, learn a skill. This helps them to prepare them for better lifestyle choices. We give them, self-esteem. We find a lot of the kids that come to us have very low self-esteem issues, and participating in this sort of creative activity gives them opportunities to shine, feel good about themselves. The principals in the schools in which we operate have given us feedback that all the kids that participate in our program definitely exhibit greater discipline, are more focused, and do better academically. So there's a transference of skills in that respect as well.
And how do you generate income?
Well, we didn't.
Oh, okay.
We have been around for 22 years, and we have been strictly social. And we did very well back in the days when the interest rate regime was high. Our endowing partners had established a trust fund from which we used to exist from the interest income. And of course, we all know where we have transitioned in that regard. So need I tell you that we are not able to sustain ourselves very well on the interest income that we are now getting. And of course, we know too that the donor pool is drying up. And along comes SEBI to rescue us, or so we thought initially. We entered into the social enterprise program with perhaps the wrong mindset. And we were rudely awakened to the realities that it's not going to be a handout. It's not grant funding that we're getting. So we had to grasp the concept of social enterprise. Now we have embraced, perhaps what I should say first is that we had different ideas. We were very passionate about a particular social program in our visual arts department, which was supposed to use screen printing, not only as a means of earning for us, but to train community members so that they themselves could also see some sort of entrepreneurial opportunities out of it. That, of course, didn't work very well. We discovered through our SEBI team's help that it was very, very, very capital intensive, that we really didn't know too much about what we were getting into. We thought we had space and things like, but what's the size of the equipment? What's the weight of the equipment? Can the floor support the equipment? Because it was an old building. And very quickly, we all had to step back and say, but this is not going to work, you know? So we literally had to shift our focus. And what we discovered is that we had this resource, which we were using for years, right under our noses, the Breezy Castle Center on Harbour Street, which is where we operate our programs from, which was there as an underutilized resource. So we quickly transitioned. How can we now use this property that we have, this beautiful environmental space, to create an events venue? And this is where we're at. This is what we're using now as our social enterprise. And there have been challenges.
Can you name any?
Community challenges, let me start first, challenges within our team. First of all, accepting that we needed to move from straight social into enterprise. We felt at one point that we were abandoning our communities, that for 22 years, this is what we have been doing, you know, and this is how we should, this is social, this is what we are here to do. We also had to convince our board that this was not only necessary, it was, without it, possibly we're going to just falter and die. And we are all very passionate about what we do. And we know that we are making an impact in the communities. We get the testimonials from the participants. We hear from the principals. We hear from the parents. We could not afford not to continue. And I think we suffered through a few challenges. It was emotional at one point because it was really tugging at us. But we had to make that paradigm shift mentally, emotionally, and we're here now with SEBI's help.
And how did you go about changing the mindset? Because I know a lot of organizations, a lot of NGOs will say, we are not for profit. What bit don't you understand? We're not for profit, we're not supposed to make money.
But that definitely was part of the struggle that we went through as a team. But I think our passion to survive, because we're so committed to helping the children, giving them opportunities to shine and to achieve, that we know we could not just let it die. And I think through compromise, through discussion, hand-holding, explanations, research, we just had to make that shift in our focus. And we did it. And once we did it, and once we could convince our board, we're all on board now 100%, and I think we now recognize that they can work in tandem. We're not abandoning the communities. In fact, what we're doing will put greater focus and greater impact into our community programs.
Just for the audience, we have two enterprises who have been, Mustard Seed, who's been around for 30 years with different business activities. We have Julian, who's been around for approximately 3 to 4 years, and Pauline Smith and MultiCare are both startups. Pauline, why do you want to start a social enterprise?
Well, for me, it's really part of in my blood. I've done social enterprise for the last 20 years, whether I was working with undertrained hospitality workers in Toronto, or I was educating marginalized youth and poor adults in Ontario. So it's just what I do. I love the challenge of turning a service into a profitable business. So it's just what I do. The challenge to follow we had that challenge because we thought, a lot of people on my board thought that getting involved with SEBI was just another funding source. And I understood that what we needed, since we had a number of things going, much like Mustard Seed, we have farms, we're in the rural area, and most of our members are in some way involved in farming. So we have on our board a sheep farmer. One of our members produce specialty lettuce and strawberries and so on. The Now Farm has goats. We were involved in so many things going on, but much like Mustard Seed, we were just like doing so many things, it wasn't really focused. So getting involved with the program helped us to get very laser about where we were going to put our energy. And having picked mushroom, we were then able to fold all the other things we were doing. The manure from the goats became part of the compost. The worm farm became part of producing the mushroom, and it just gave us an opportunity to focus. But I don't think there is any other option. I am wired as an entrepreneur, but I'm also wired by my grandmother as a do-gooder, and so I don't love to beg. I really get very annoyed that I have to subjugate myself and, oh, could you please help me to do what I think is my life purpose to do? And so when you put that attitude together with the fact that I just love the idea of counting money.
But Pauline, you mentioned that you chose mushrooms. Why did you choose mushrooms?
I choose mushroom because for a number of reasons. A lot of it is social, but a lot of it is profitability of it. Jamaicans, when you meet a lot of Jamaicans in the rural area, they will go, no, John, I'm not eating duppy umbrella. But the truth is, when you look at the agricultural figures, it says that mushroom is the #1 imported vegetable in Jamaica, with over $45 million being spent by the hotels alone on importing mushrooms. A lot of my members are landless, poor, rural women. Mushroom makes sense. You can make a mushroom farm in a plastic bag and put it under your bed. So you don't need to have access to a lot of land. And if you took the risk out of making mushroom, you're also making a product that is highly valued. And since we know that social enterprise must address 3 bottom line, mushroom farming in a country where we overuse chemical fertilizer is just a no-brainer because it will benefit the environment by helping to replenish the soil with the post-compost. So the waste from the mushroom is a very valuable product to farmers.
Okay.
But this week, we're not talking fantasy, this week if you step out the door and go to the supermarkets in Kingston, this is what you will spend. $9,400 for a kilogram of shiitake mushroom.
Wow.
I don't know any yam that you can sell 2.5 pounds for $9,400. It just makes sense.
Okay.
Nobody's coming to save us.
Great. And
there is nobody coming to save us. The day of the funder coming to give you money to do busy work is done. The cavalry is not coming, so you better try a thing.
And Julian, how did you develop your idea? Why a business centre? Who said it was necessary?
Well, before the source was actually built, there were 2 years of consultations that took place with the communities. Because at the heart of the source, community is everything. So they had dialogue with the community members and they indicated what services they'd like to see being offered from our center. Interestingly enough, one of the things that they wanted to see is a recording studio. And so through our participation with the SEBI program, we're now on the path to actually implementing that wish for them. We're currently developing a business plan for the recording studio, and it's a part of our overall music project because we realize that we're Caribbean people, so music is basically in our bones. And located on the western side of the island, we're located right to the tourism capital of the world, Negril. So there's a huge demand there for live music and bands and musicians. So we think that if we position ourselves correctly, within 4 years or so, if we have a program, we can develop musicians, young talents from within the community, and then there's employment for them like 15 minutes away in Negril.
I know that you had visited Alpha Boys and also Jamming Studios.
That is correct. It was a wonderful experience meeting the musical director at Alpha Boys. We got loads of information from him. He basically gave us everything we need so that we can decide whether or not we really wanted to go into the music program. And of course, we said yes, we want to do it.
But why? Because there's still a lot of challenges.
Yes, there are a lot of challenges, but like I said again, everything is based on what the community wants. So we look at it and we say it's profitable. We can make money from the recording studio, but at the same time we don't want people just come and take out the mic and go, ah, da, 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 da. We want people to actually go through a structured program, learn how to read music, learn how to write music, and then maybe that will help to even improve the quality of the music that's being put out right now. So, like I said, it's based really on serving the needs of the persons who live in these marginalized or challenged communities.
Earlier, Anne mentioned some team challenges, and also Pauline made reference to some challenges that you have trying to change culture. Did you face the same sort of challenges?
Well, to be honest, it's something that it's a problem that we haven't overcome it.
And explain to me, what are these challenges?
Well, remember, you're working with people who live in marginalized communities. So you find that it's different personalities, they may clash. You have to get community buy-in. People have to actually buy into the ideas that you're trying to do in order that they can support it so that it can be sustainable. Because it doesn't make sense for you to start something, the community is not behind it, and then it basically will just fall. It's going to be like a white elephant. So it's just, we're going to have a nice, pretty white building, and nobody's going to be in there. So we have to try to work with all these different, and we have 4 communities. And at some time in the past, these are communities which would have been in conflict at some point or in the past. So even now with the creation of the source, it's a meeting place where people can come together. It's a safe space. It's a nice green space located in our town. And it's a safe spot where everybody can come. They don't feel intimidated to say, okay, I'm from Russia, and somebody from Seton Crescent is there, or we're going to fight, nothing like that. So how do you have regular consultations? And this also applies to you, Anne, because you're in the heart of downtown Kingston. So do you have regular consultations with the communities to get their buy-in? Well, we have a management committee. So the management committee is comprised of all the various stakeholders, including members of the community. So the source, from time to time, we actually go into the communities and attend like regular community meetings and speak with the persons who live there. At the same time, the community representatives, they are our mouthpieces inside the community. So they go out and they basically publicize whatever is going on at the source, talk to the community members, get feedback, so they're like the middleman. So they tell us what's going on in the communities, and then we try to assist in whatever way we can. Okay, and Anne, what about you?
Similarly, we too are setting up a management committee. We are in the process of putting that together. We also engage the community. We know we need to have a big community meeting, which is on the books for very shortly. We have been engaging them on a one-on-one basis. We meet with a lot of the other community organizations. There are many in the Southside Parade Gardens area. And because we have been around for so long, a lot of the young people, a lot of the middle-aged, they've all transitioned through our program, so they know what we stand for. We have their trust. They all see Breezy Castle similarly. It's neutral ground. So you have Tel Aviv and you have Southside, who perhaps sometimes are not so friendly, but everybody is welcome at Breezy Castle and feels safe at Breezy Castle. It's neutral ground, so there's no problem if members of not so friendly communities end up at Breezy Castle. So we have their buy-in. We know we need to concretize it further, refresh, renew, re-engage, and that's one of the things we're embarking on now. We have a wonderful football field down there, 2 basketball courts. We're right on the waterfront. It's aptly named Breezy Castle. When you go over there, you wish you had a hammock just to laze away. The challenge we face sometimes is that the community feels too friendly and they think it's theirs, it's their home. But that is what we are trying to get them to buy into now, that we need corporate, we need other entities. We see ourselves as part of the renewal of downtown Kingston. With the hub coming, the potential and the possibilities are endless. We have had a number of activities down there already. Corporate Jamaica patronizes us. We have football, they come and they practice for business house football. We have business house matches, persons practicing for netball, basketball. We have had corporate functions, health fairs, that sort of thing. So the potential for just about any kind of activity you could undertake, we can accommodate it down there, and we know that we can they're on board with us for the most part. And we also see that it could present some entrepreneurial activities for them. If we put on like a craft fair or a market fair, there's a number of persons in the Parade Gardens community that do manufacture their own home-based craft products. And we could also facilitate them if we have that sort of activity.
Okay, I have a question for all of you. You all started with your social programs, and now you're looking at commercial objectives. How are you going to manage the two things? Social and commercial. How are you going to manage the two things? Because some of you have very small teams.
Mm-hmm. I think it's how it's all, in our case, we believe in the design. The same way we design our farm for safety. We are designing our organization for social and enterprise. So the 2 founding members of our team, Denise Walter, who I could not survive without, is firmly in charge of the social aspect of our organization. It is her job to work with the churches. We reach most of our women through rural churches. That's where we meet most of them first. We approach the pastors and we go in and talk to the women in the congregation and tell them about what we do. And that for us is also part of the design, in that women who are used to going to church and sitting and listening, we found that they were a lot better at starting something in the community with than the ones we met at the drink out. So, you know, it was just, it made sense. So Denise, nice lady, Denise is just a sweetheart, a lot nicer than me. She is. She bakes and gives candies and stuff. I don't. So she's strongly in charge of the social part of it, expanding the social network, identifying needs in the community, identifying new communities, organizing them. When there is a death in our community, recently we had a lot of deaths and children need to go to school and that, and working with the food program, Denise does that. My experience is strongly business. So we've separated enterprise from social and get together to make sure that I'm doing enough business thing to help support the social part. And in that, we're managing that by registering on a little-known clause in the Friendly Society called Specially Authorized Society.
And can you explain to the audience what that is?
A specially authorized society in Jamaica is like combining a cooperative with a benevolent society, so that it's your mandate to do business and it's your mandate to do social work. And in organizing your board, we have a new position on our board, not just president, vice president. We have president, who is an outside person who comes and officiates a meeting, but doesn't necessarily have the time or the interest in the everyday work of the organization. And we have an executive director. And that executive position on the board is not a transient one. You can't build a business if you're being voted out every couple of years. So that executive director position is a permanent position unless I steal all the money and run away to England or something. So that entrenches you in the organization. And so that for us is part of design instructor.
Okay.
It is our mandate to do both.
Okay. Darcy, you mentioned that you have got a business development manager.
Yes.
Why did you bring him on?
Because again, as we wanted to have a very pointed approach in terms of developing the business side. And as I said before, it was everybody dabbling in a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So what he will bring to the table is a system that we have to put in place and somebody who is there who is accountable for that. All right? You spoke earlier about the challenges. We have challenges. And it's mostly internally, not dealing with the market, external market, but it's internally because many of our workers are unlettered and unlearned, you would imagine, particularly at the ground floor. And the whole business of saying to somebody, you have to have documentation. You have to know how many eggs are collected on a daily basis. You have to know how many bags of feed you're issuing on a daily basis. Now we have to get individuals to start writing, to putting in the structures in place so that they are accountable and that they move from a situation where it's, you know, the community thing, you have the eggs, somebody come, you give them a flat, another one come tomorrow, you give them another flat, you're drawing the fish, you give them half of it. No, that has got to stop. So we're looking at accountability. And our unit will be a standalone business unit that has to manage itself. And if we need to get other individuals on, we will do so as is required.
Okay. And how large is your team?
Huh.
Oh.
That's me, huh?
Well, we have 2 in the office. And we have coordinators for our sports program, our visual arts program, and our performing arts program. So from an admin point of view, we really have no staff, office staff as such. We too, as I said, we've recognized that we need an enterprise manager, and we have been fortunate enough to have a volunteer who has been assisting us from a consultant basis as well as hands-on. And we're hoping that the enterprise will grow enough that we'll be able to pay him and entice him to stay on.
So how much time will that person be able to give to your organization?
Well, initially not a lot, but what we get is extreme value, and we're hoping to initially have them on board for 2 days. And who knows, maybe for longer term after that, you know. If the social enterprise grows, our understanding is that you can turn over your profits to grow the enterprise so that it's in a better position to earn greater profits to push our programs forward. And we have started, and we're seeing a little results. We started with concession sales, and that's taken off quite nicely. We have done a downtown tour, which is one of the things we want to embark on as well.
And what is that?
We set up a downtown tour, and we facilitated a visitor to Jamaica and took her on a 3-day tour, various sites. So she got personalized one-on-one a tour guide, being driven around. We provided lunch, and she was extremely happy, and we even got a tip at the end of the day.
So is that going to be one of your ventures?
That's going to be one of our ventures because, as I said, that's one of the things we want to take advantage of with the hub as well, with a lot of people coming into downtown Kingston. And we have a lot of historical sites, lots of cultural things to go down and see, you know. So we figure that's one thing that we can also expand on.
Okay. And Julian, how big is your team?
Well, we have four members of staff, including myself.
Are they all full-time?
That's right. Well, our assistant center administrator is actually part-time. But the thing is, she's so committed, she actually works full-time. We also have a large pool of volunteers that from time to time we can call on for support. The challenge, though, is whenever we have really good volunteers, really good volunteers, they always get snapped up really quickly by some company. The last very good volunteer we had, she actually coordinated our homework program. And as coming out of that, she also did our annual summer camp. And she did such a good job that Sanders Foundation came in, saw what she was doing, and just offered her a job. She's now with Sanders Foundation. So we're happy for them because it's the source. We look at it as it's a change agent. So anyone who comes should leave better than the way they came.
Okay.
And if we can help persons to advance themselves, whether professionally or personally in their personal lives, then we feel that we have done something, we've accomplished something.
And who is responsible for the income-generating activities?
The income-generating activities. Well, in every organization, once it's a social enterprise, there has to be balance, right? Because you can't have too many social activities going on, and at the same time, it wouldn't be social if it was strictly enterprise. So I am basically in charge of monitoring all of the enterprise activities as in my role as center administrator. And we have my direct report, my supervisor. She's the one who normally brainstorms and comes up with all these social programs. I'm not much into the social program. I like to count the pennies. I'm a little bit like Pauline.
Explain to me some of the, really explain to the audience, if they were to be starting up a social enterprise, what sort of advice would you give to them? Because I know everyone left yesterday really inspired and raring to go, and they got their plan of actions, and they're going to start a social enterprise next week. But let's bring them back to reality. And what would you explain to them?
Well, you have to start like you're going to start a business.
Absolutely.
No matter how lovely the idea is, if there is no market for it, then oops, there you go. So if you're an entrepreneur, you find something, a great need, and you fill it. My great need is work for rural women. We started with that. Rural women and their families. I have children in my neighborhood who go to school 7 days a month. I've never been to school on a Friday. I have 6 children right next to my farm that lives in one room with 2 adults. So we know that there is a need. The husband works every day, and he would have to split himself in 10 to be able to take care of those kids. So there is 2 women that he has with the 6 kids in the place. I figured if I could get the 2 girls to go to work to do something that they could do, then we could triple the family income, and then we could get them out of that. So there was the need. What could they grow? What does the marketplace need? I first looked at domestic work, and that's limited to 15 Canadian dollars a day. I ain't going to take care of 6 kids. So then we went through the whole process to mushroom. So you've got to do the process that any business would do. Here's the need you want to address. How do you take this target population and do something with them that is of value to the community? That's number 1. Number 2, you need to have a team. If that team is 2 people and you have to draft your husband and your children, in the case of with the mushroom, I drafted my youngest son, who is a trained chef in Canada, and exchanged it, 8-week vacation, in exchange for some special mushroom recipe. And come in with your tall self and hand out mushroom. Oh, by the way, when you're done here, there is all kind of amazing mushroom for you to taste. So you need to go through the same process and be prepared to cry, be prepared to stay up and don't sleep, be prepared to sweep floors, do all of the stuff, all that you would do to take care of your own business, because it's your business. It's just that instead of benefiting you and your family, you're benefiting your community and your country.
Thank you, Pauline, Darcy, Anne, and Julian for participating in this discussion. Thank you.